どうも大ちゃんです。いつも動画を見てくれてありがとうございます。X、Instagram、TikTok と活動の幅を広げておりまして、概要欄にも URL が掲載してあるので、よかったらフォローの方よろしくお願いします。というわけで今回なんですけれども、海外のゴジラ情報を発信している友人のインフルエンサーからゴジラマイナスワンを鑑賞した際のレビュー動画を送ってもらえたので、翻訳して動画で紹介させてもらおうと思います。北米でのゴジラマイナスワンの公開が3日後に控える中で、海外のゴジラファンのゴジラマイナスワンの評価が気になっているという方も多くいると思います。ウェブ上のレビューやニュース記事など多くの媒体で少しずつ評価というものが明らかにされてきているんですが、リアルな声というのはなかなか届きにくいと思うんですよ。そこで米国在住の俺の友人であり、日本のゴジラやモンスターバースの情報を発信している海外インフルエンサーの D マンにがっつり語ってもらいました。ゴジラマイナスワンを鑑賞することをメインに11月頭に来日した彼は当時は大興奮していましたね。ずっと大はしゃぎで見ているこちらが楽しい気持ちになりました。彼のゴジラコンテンツを愛する気持ちは日本人以上であり、食事をしながら色々語りましたが最高の時間でした。平成ゴジラシリーズのデザイナーである西川真司さんと D マンと彼の連れと俺の4人でゴジラフェスを回るなど、本当に充実した時間を送ることができました。ゴジラ X コングの公開の際には俺がアメリカに行って、今度はゴジラ X コングを一緒に鑑賞できたらいいなと考えています。おそらくゴジラコンテンツを YouTube で視聴する方は一度は見たことがあると思う D マン1954のチャンネルなんですが、情報量がすごいのと合わせて熱意がとんでもないんですよ。見ているとぐいぐいと引き込まれていくその熱量は、モンスターバース情報を発信している海外インフルエンサーの中でもトップクラスだと思います。その熱意もあり、現在は公式に依頼を受けて動画での情報発信を行っているんですが、その彼が今回ゴジラマイナスワンのレビューをしてくれたんですよ。これは必見ですね。10分近い時間語ってくれたので、ぜひゆっくり見ていってください。そして概要欄にリンクが設置してあるので、D マン1954のチャンネル登録をして彼の活動のサポートをぜひしてあげてください。よろしくお願いします。それではレビュー動画をどうぞ。
皆さんこんにちは。私の名前は D-Man1954 です。大ちゃんムービールームさん、あなたのビデオを押していただき本当にありがとうございます。どうか大ちゃんにサブスクライブしてくださいに。今月東京に旅行しました。素晴らしい時間を過ごしました。日本が大好きですが、戻りたいゴジラマイナスワンを見ました。これが私の感想です。I'm sorry if that was bad Japanese. I'm sorry. I'm trying to learn. I'm doing my best. I'm sorry. Thank you all for your support and for your interest in my opinions on Godzilla Minus One, and thank you again to Dai-chan for hosting me. I would also like to thank Dai-chan for helping me get tickets to Godzilla Minus One so that I could see it opening day. It really means a lot, and I really appreciate it. Please show him support. It means a lot to me. I'm so glad I got to meet my friend Dai-chan when I was out in Tokyo. He showed me around Hibiya. It was so much fun. We got to go to the Hibiya Godzilla Square together. It was really cool. I watched Godzilla Minus One when I was in Japan. It was such a great time. I really enjoyed it. I am a huge Godzilla fan, and I have always been such a huge Godzilla fan, and so getting to see a Godzilla movie in Japan was such a wonderful experience. My first Godzilla movie I got to see in theaters was 2014's Godzilla from America. I've seen all the Hollywood Godzillas in movie theaters that have come out since 2014. I also got to see Shin Godzilla when it came out in theaters in America. I have loved all of them. I'm a big fan of pretty much every single Godzilla movie, so seeing Godzilla Minus One in Japan was really exciting, and I would like to thank Dai-chan for helping me make that possible. Because of him, I got to go to the IMAX screening at the Toho Cinema Shinjuku opening morning on November 3rd, and it was so much fun. It was so interesting to see a movie in Japanese theaters because they're very different than American theaters. In American movie theaters, the audience is a lot louder, so during times of comedy, the audience laughs a lot louder, or during times of action, the audience cheers a lot of the times. And it was interesting seeing Godzilla Minus One, especially because the audience was so quiet even when the end credits rolled. In America, most people just get up and leave through the end credits regardless of if there's a post-credits scene. But it was interesting to see Godzilla Minus One fun when people were sitting through the credits and we got to listen to the music, so that was pretty cool. I really enjoyed the movie. I thought it worked really well. I was a big fan of it because I really like the Godzilla movies which are about Godzilla as a destroyer. I don't like it as much when Godzilla's the good guy. I really like when Godzilla's the bad guy, and he got to be the bad guy in Godzilla -1, and that was so cool. One thing I thought this movie did really well was how it gave Godzilla a really strong presence even when he wasn't on screen. I like how Godzilla carried with him a lot of weight and impacted the story directly, and that the story unfolded because of him, in particular with Shikishima. I thought Shikishima was very interesting in the way that he had an early encounter with Godzilla that left him scarred for years. That was super cool. I'm a big fan of whenever Godzilla movies unpack the trauma that a monster like Godzilla would cause, and I thought -1 did that better than pretty much any other Godzilla movie. I also really like a Godzilla who has a personality, and I felt that Godzilla in -1 had more of a personality than he has had in pretty much any other Godzilla movie that Toho has put out for a long time. The American Godzilla has a personality, but he's a good guy, and that's not as interesting to me as when he's a destroyer. And typically when Godzilla's the destroyer, he just tends to walk in one direction and knock things over. And I thought the thing that -1 did that was so cool and so exciting was that he's gonna smash and bash his way through buildings, and I really like the scene when he's attacking the old Nippon Theater. I like when he's crashing into it and he can't break it, so he just flips his tail and it smacks all the buildings into nothing. That's one of my favorite moments in the movie. It was so much fun because it showed a Godzilla who actually cared about it. It was a Godzilla who would put effort into things. And another thing I really loved was the way that Godzilla swims, because it felt so awkward and unnatural in a really good way. I like the way his head kind of sticks out of the water when he swims, almost like he's not meant to be swimming, which also plays into the way that Godzilla is very stiff and awkward when he's on land, which I also really liked, because it kind of plays into the idea that Godzilla doesn't belong. He doesn't belong anywhere. As we see in Godzilla -1, he is directly created by an atom bomb. I also really appreciated how Godzilla -1 went there, how they showed on screen the birth of Godzilla. That's something that most Godzilla movies kind of allude to, but are a little afraid to show, and I thought it was very brave of -1 to show it, and I really appreciated the historical recreation of the Baker test footage. I honestly thought it was colorized footage at first when I saw it, because it is so accurate to the Baker test, but then I saw the movie a second time and realized that it is a CG recreation of that real-life atom bomb test. I really liked the way this movie played with real-world history. I thought the period of the film was fantastic, and it led to this Godzilla who we get to see as a true abomination who does not belong in the ocean. In fact, this is the first Godzilla who they're able to use that as a weakness against him, which I thought was so interesting. And I also liked that it shows he's kind of awkward when he's on land. He walks around all stiff, and you kind of feel like the weight of just existing is gonna crush him down. That was interesting because it kind of shows that this guy's a misfit, and it makes sense why he's so angry, because he doesn't belong anywhere. I thought this movie did that better than almost any other Godzilla movie. I did think it was interesting that Godzilla, when he shows up at the start of the movie, was so angry. I don't understand all of the dialogue in the movie, so there's some soldiers talking about Godzilla at the start of the movie before he shows up, and I don't know what they're saying about him, but Godzilla is already angry when we meet him, and I thought that was interesting because he didn't have the motivation of the atom bomb yet. That did make me quite interested. I think it would be interesting if Godzilla was not a bad guy until he's hit with the atom bomb. I thought this movie was very smart. I really liked the setting. I liked the look of it. I thought they did a very good job pulling off the look of it. I was especially impressed with the recreations of Hibiya and Ginza. It was very impressive to see those accurately recreated with CGI. It's very clear to me that Takashi Yamazaki, the director, put a lot of time into the history in -1, and that goes a very far way. I love history. I love to learn about history, and I really appreciated when this movie touched on real life history. Overall, I think Godzilla -1 does a lot of things better than most Godzilla movies. I thought Godzilla's design was perfect. They took the Heisei design from the 90s and they updated it to the modern age to make him newer and scarier and sharper and more aggressive than we've seen him before, but they didn't change what Godzilla is. He still looks just like the old Godzilla. And I feel the same way about the whole movie. They didn't change the DNA of what makes a Godzilla movie. It still feels like a traditional Godzilla movie. They've just updated it, made it more aggressive and a little more sleek and pristine for the modern age, and I really liked that. Another one of my favorite things about Godzilla -1 was the music. I thought the soundtrack was phenomenal. The music was done by Naoki Sato, who had previously worked with Takashi Yamazaki on the Always films, where he had previously used Akira Ifukube's Godzilla theme. And I liked that in this movie, he created his own unique sound for the film. It was very beautiful. It's a really interesting soundtrack to listen to. It's very emotional, and I really liked that about it. I also found it very interesting the way he used Akira Ifukube's music. Rather than just using Godzilla's March, which is something a lot of the Godzilla films tend to do, they used different songs, like from Mothra vs. Godzilla or King Kong vs. Godzilla. And that was really exciting because it made the sequences feel more fresh, and it also brought back what Ifukube wanted to do with that music in the first place. Godzilla's destruction scene in Ginza is now accompanied by the Godzilla Destruction March from 1964, and I loved that. At the end of the movie, when the military is attacking Godzilla, that's when Godzilla's march plays, because Godzilla's march was originally written as a military march, and the way that they reused it as a military march again, that was wonderful. It really made me super happy because I think it's super important when that song is used as a military march, because that's how Ifukube wanted it. I think that song works best when it's used for the good guys, and when Godzilla's destroying things, I don't think it fits as much as when Godzilla's a good guy. I don't think it fits as much as when Godzilla's either a good guy or when the good guys are attacking Godzilla. I also liked the fact that they reworked in that King Kong vs. Godzilla main theme, because that has been used previously in Godzilla vs. Destoroyah, but I liked that it was used again here because it adds a lot of energy to the movie while also making it very nostalgic. King Kong vs. Godzilla from 1962 is my favorite Godzilla movie, so hearing that song brought back was so exciting. Overall, I was very impressed with Godzilla Minus One. I cannot wait for it to come out in America in a couple of weeks where I get to watch it with subtitles finally. I thought the cast did a great job. I really enjoyed the characters in the human story. I found it very emotional, and I really liked the way that the characters all banded together. And I liked that Akiko was kind of the central character who we were looking after. I liked that we gave a face to the people of Japan we were trying to defend. I also thought the friendship between the main four characters was very strong and exciting. I think they're a lot of fun as well. I thought that the music was great. Godzilla I thought was fantastic. I really liked the special effects, and I'm very, very impressed by what Takashi Yamazaki and his team were able to accomplish on what is such a small budget by American standards. This movie has only a fraction of the budget of even Godzilla 2014, which is in America considered a low budget movie. And so I was very impressed with how far they were able to take their special effects and how wonderfully they looked. This has some scenes where Godzilla looks better than he has ever looked before. So I thought the human story was great. I thought the kaiju story was great. I thought the special effects were great, and I thought the music was great, which all adds up to make a fantastic movie that I cannot wait to watch again. Thank you all for listening to my thoughts on Godzilla Minus One. If you want to hear more thoughts on Godzilla Minus One, I have plenty of videos on my channel, DMan1954, where I cover a lot more than just this. And huge thank you to Dai-chan for hosting this video and letting me share my thoughts on Godzilla Minus One with all of you. Please subscribe to both channels, and thank you for supporting Godzilla. I'll see you guys next time for the next one. D-Man out.
D マンのレビューどうだったでしょうか。熱い気持ちが伝わってくると同時に、ゴジラマイナスワンが北米の人々にも受け入れてもらえる可能性が高いということも伝わってきましたよね。ゴジラマイナスワンが海外で大ヒットして、今後のゴジラコンテンツに新たな道を切り開いてくれることを祈っています。海外の友人である D マンのレビューをこうして皆さんと共有できたことが俺はとても嬉しいです。もっとゴジラはグローバルなコンテンツとして活躍できる可能性は十分に高いと思うので、今後の動きを見守っていきましょう。そして来年はゴジラ X コングに向けてお互いの共通の友人である海外インフルエンサーの KDM を交えて3人で一緒にいろいろと面白いことをやってゴジラモンスターバースを盛り上げていくので、引き続きサポートの方よろしくお願いします。最後になりますが、D マンと大ちゃんの映画部屋のチャンネル登録よろしくお願いします。ここまで見てくれてありがとう。また次の動画でお会いしましょう。